It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
This is Brian Beatty, host of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. We are actually live in the studio today, here to answer your calls and address your questions, your comments, your concerns about the real estate market. A lot of uncertainty out there. Uncertainty has to be, well, obviously, pandemic is the, I think, word of the year for 2020, but very close by should be uncertainty. We're going to talk a lot about that this morning. A lot of folks asking right now, Brian, what do you think is going to happen next year? What should we do? Are prices going up? Are they going down? What's happening with this quote-unquote wave of foreclosures that are supposedly headed our way? So we're going to talk about that and more this morning. But I'm live here in the studio. Would love to take your call and answer your questions, maybe hear an experience or story from you, answer some questions, just be helpful. The number here in the studio, 843-556-1250. Again, that's 843-556-1250. And, of course, if you want to reach out to me, I have a real estate team. We've got 22 folks. We've sold a little over $500 million worth of real estate here in the Charleston market. And I've been in the top 1% for, 11 years in a row now, thanks to great folks like you. So if you'd like to talk more about your specific situation, maybe have a little bit more of an intimate conversation, not something on air, you can call my personal cell phone. That number is 843-400-8009 or 843-400-8009 or go to listingsincharleston.com. Again, that's listingsincharleston.com. So I think one of the things, and I promise this will turn into a real estate segment here in just a moment, but what has been really interesting, especially as somebody that, owns a company that employs a few dozen people, or that has a few dozen people working for me, is that you really start to better understand human behavior, especially as it relates to how people motivate themselves, what happens when things become uncertain. And I'll tell you, I think that we as a country are dealing with some pretty big issues. I think the coronavirus has uncovered some addictions that run rampant in our society that a lot of people don't really talk about or that take for granted. And I think that the craving that so many people are missing right now, but they certainly have, is this craving for prediction. They want to know what's going to happen before it happens. Is it going to rain tomorrow? We've got apps for that. How's my stock going to perform? What's everybody else wearing to the party? Are people going into the office right now or no? Is that okay for me to, be on a Zoom call in my sweatpants? There's just so many things that are causing uncertainty that I want to ask the question, before the coronavirus, were things certain? Was there this thing that we could subscribe to that we knew was going to happen, that it was fact-based, that no matter what it was going to happen? There's always uncertainty. And, we seek the certain and avoid the uncertain. We want to know what to expect, where to go, what to wear. We want to be prepared. That's really what it boils down to. We want to be safe. It's far beyond a want, I think, at this point. It's more like an addiction. We size people up before we meet them. We make judgments about their character in seconds. We buy things from companies that we've never tried on before, but we trust the brand name, although there are plenty of other alternatives. So, and this is why this is where the real estate portion of it comes in. Let's say that you have your home on the market, because there are a lot of applicable examples here, but let's say you have your home on the market or you have your property on the market. It's not selling, and you've been on the market for a month. We've seen this in so many different varieties so far this year. We've had folks that have literally called to complain on a Monday when we listed their home on a Friday that they did not have multiple offers on their home. So here we are, day 3, and they're upset. They're not just irritated, they're upset that their home hasn't sold. And when we really get down into it, because we don't shy away from conversations like that, I'd much rather meet those situations head on and just address it. Let's deal with it. Let's have conversations about it. Let's be adults about it, professionals about it, and address the issue and move on. Whereas so many agents just like to skirt the issue. They don't like confrontation. They don't like saying anything that might upset you. And so they give you the version of selling a home through rose-colored glasses. You know, when I put a property on the market, we usually have a multiple offer situation by that following Monday. And although that can happen, and it's happened to us, my gosh, dozens of times this year. It's been a great year. Our average days on market is literally, my team's average days on market is literally 7 days. But the thing is, not everybody wants to sell their home in a week. Plenty of people are perfectly willing to wait longer than a week in order to get the price that makes the most sense. Now, obviously, with these properties that are generating multiple offers in a very short period of time, the seller's not going to consider those offers. And it's not like they're in a multiple offer situation, you generally have a bunch of lowball offers. Usually that becomes a very competitive process, and the property sells for top dollar. But going back to this comment and this idea, this, I think, realization that some folks have come to, myself included, is that this addiction to certainty is causing people to not do anything right now, especially this time of year. And this is why I think this is important to talk about this morning, is because we've got the holidays right around the corner. Not a lot of people want to deal with the frustration of having their home on the market during the holidays, which is perfectly understandable. If you don't have to sell, then, why deal with it? I have to say that if I were in a position where I'd like to move, but I don't have to move, especially with everything that my wife has done to our house to decorate for the holidays this year, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to put my home on the market. But there are some things that you should be aware of that you can do to kind of get the ball rolling. And we're going to talk about that in the next segment, because I don't want to dedicate too much time to it at the moment. But as you kind of examine this market and you examine the behavior of people and what causes them to make decisions or not make decisions, the lack of data, the lack of knowing what's going to happen next is just causing a lot of people to step back and say, you know what, I'm just going to watch and wait. It's what a lot of folks are saying right now. And the problem is this: we have a serious inventory issue. It's at the point now, we've been talking about this for years on this show, especially those that have listened to me for, 8, going on, 9 years now on this radio program. So, this week we had, 2,700 homes available for sale in the Charleston Tri-County area. We had literally 10,000 more homes than that less than a decade ago. So now we've got basically 3 real estate agents for every 1 property that's on the market. That's how saturated our market is. And everybody's fighting for market share. And so what do you think happens when a seller calls a real estate agent, or when a real estate agent goes into a home and they know that you've already had conversations with other real estate agents? They're going to say what they need to say in order for you to sign on that dotted line. Hire them. At least now they have an opportunity. At least they have something they can market, they can boast, they can use to generate more business. Regardless of whether they actually accomplish your goal or not of selling the property, at least now they have something that has some spin-off potential. The ability for them to use that for their own reasons to get other buyers. And don't get me wrong, when you hire somebody to represent your property for sale, you want somebody that's going to market the you-know-what out of it. And you should be realistic in understanding that not every single person that is inquisitive of your property is going to be a buyer for your property. Having said that, there's a difference between doing a really good job of marketing somebody's home and using somebody's home as leverage to earn future business. And giving them the false promise that they can sell their home for a price that, frankly, is ridiculous. on some of these listings that I've seen. But it also goes back to, the real estate agent that you hire. Are you having tough conversations with them? Are you, open and honest, and are they? How is that relationship going? How do you want it to go? Is that something you even talked about before you guys started working together? We have a lot of folks that tried selling their home earlier this year that those homes didn't sell for whatever reason. And so when we talk to them, because over 60% of what my team sells was previously listed by another real estate agent. So we come in, we rebrand the property, we attach our marketing to it. At times, yes, we adjust the price because the price was just off. It was just wrong. We prove that to the seller. They understand it. They get it. We adjust it. We sell it all as well. But you also have a lot of sellers that have said, we're going to give them another 6 months because they've put so much time and energy and resources into the sale. And I get that, and that's commendable to an extent, but when you stick with what you're comfortable with, you're just doing the same things you've always done, and you're in effect living in the past, which means you're just going to get the same result. What are they doing differently to sell the property this time around is a good question to ask yourself and them. So I want to talk about hiring an agent in this market because our role, in my opinion, has to change. It has to be modified. And I'm going to tell you some things that we've done this year that have been really impactful for us and our business and our clients. We're going to talk about that and more as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues. Now, remember, we're in the studio. If you want to give me a call, talk shop, answer questions. The number here, 843-556-1250, 843-556-1250. Stick around. This is more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA, WTMA.com.
Stay tuned for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. 1250 WTMA. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back, folks, to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. And WTMA.com. We are live in the studio taking your calls today. So if you have a question for me, you want to talk through a scenario, maybe you've got a funny story to share, whatever the case might be, feel free to call into the studio. We'd love to hear from you. 843-556-1250 is the number, 843-556-1250. Or if you'd like to reach out to me personally, you want to talk real estate, you've got some goals for this coming year, 2021. You'd like to make a move, you're thinking of buying, selling, or investing, or maybe you just have a general knowledge question. We're always here to be helpful. And I'll tell you, the strength and the attractiveness of the network that I have grown to know and that I've built for people like contractors and lenders and inspectors and attorneys and just everybody that's involved in this process. I got to tell you, I got a dream team of folks that really do a great job of helping you guys through this process in different facets. Obviously, we handle the real estate portion, but we've got a lot of folks that do just a great job, and I'm going to make a shout out to them this morning. But if you'd like to reach out to me and have that discussion personally, my number is 843-345-1273, 345-1273, or 400-8009, 400-8009. So we're going to go to the call to the phones real quick. We got Bob in Mount Pleasant. Bob, how are you?
Yes, pretty good, Brian. Thanks for taking my call. I have a question about the reassessment of real estate in Charleston County. If you want to grieve it, how do you go back to 2018 prices? Where do you get 2018 prices? They say that your value of your property is based on the value that it was in 2018. Now, that's almost 3 years ago. Where do you get information like that to get comparables? To say you have to have comparables.
Sure. So easiest thing to do is just have someone like me do a search for what sold in 2018 in your neighborhood comparable to your property, and just adjust the value based on what it would have sold for in 2018.
Right.
Just reverse engineer it.
Okay, so your company would do that then if I contacted
yeah,
folks?
Absolutely. Give John your information. I'm happy to help you through that. And that's a great reason to call in, Bob, because this is one of those things that we do for folks that there's no commission attached to this. We're just here to be helpful. We've got the data, and it doesn't take us that long, truthfully. So yeah, we're happy to do that for you.
Okay. Well, that'll be great. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, that's a great point. You know, there's so many other things here that we do as real estate agents that we just want to be helpful to you. So if you've got those kind of questions, you know, obviously you can do what Bob did, and you can call into the program here, 843-556-1250. But you're more than welcome to call me after the show. Call, text me, 843-400-8009, and we'll do our best to help out. And so I want to kind of pick up on where we left off with this whole uncertainty thing. And you might be able to tell that I'm just a little irritated by that word, because so many people have just latched on to it and frankly use it as a scare tactic, just a marketing ploy of sorts. And I get it. You know, you obviously want to tap into the human emotion with every piece of marketing you do, and I understand the irony that as somebody sitting in front of a microphone, you know, on a radio show that you guys listen to. But the reality is, because of the uncertainty out there, which uncertainty always exists, but because it's so fresh right now, because the wound is so sore, it's just causing inaction. If there's any sort of financial uncertainty, it's probably not the best idea to sell your home right now anyways and go and buy something bigger, better, nicer. And so, yeah, there's an element here where you need to be smart, of course, with your decision-making, even though for so many people, it's so attractive to look at, wow, I could buy this home, transfer the equity that I have in my house to this bigger, better house, get a 2.8% interest rate, and effectively have the same, maybe even less of a monthly payment. There's a true financial incentive for a lot of folks to make this move. But of course, with folks saying, well, we're going to wait and see what happens with, you know, this whole Trump-Biden debacle and which direction he's going to take the economy. And, you know, it looks like cases are going up again, cases. So we're just going to hold back. We're going to wait and see what happens. And, you know, I totally get that, because on one hand, you've got the health-related issue and concern associated with something like COVID. Then you also have the financial, the economic impact of COVID. And if you think about it, because people are uncertain about things, because in many areas of the country, people are taking this very seriously. I'll tell you one area that seems like it's not taking it too darn seriously is Greenville, that general area. And I get to say that because my wife is from up there and has family that lives up there, and is just consistently hearing stories about how people don't really wear masks. You know, they're just kind of over it. But it's causing cases to go way up, which is unfortunate. And so because people are now sitting at home and not going out, not socializing, you've got all those businesses that are affected, right? All those businesses, those business owners own homes. They have employees that own homes. There's this big spider web of connections, this network that is at risk because of the fact that people aren't going out, aren't spending money. You know, and then you've got all these different factors that are affected. You've got obviously food and bev and the entertainment portion of our economy. And you guys have heard this before, and I'm not here to give you a full, overview on what's going on economically, but you can take a pretty good guess as to how that's going to impact the real estate market. And I think people obviously do what they always do, which is they blow things way out of proportion. They use buzzwords to try and elicit some response from you, like a tidal wave of foreclosures. That just sounds devastating. That sounds incredibly scary, especially for people that are still licking their wounds from 2008. Do I think there is going to be a tidal wave, a destructive force of foreclosures headed our way? Personally, no. And I'm willing to go on air and say, no, I don't think we have this tidal wave of foreclosures coming. I think it's impossible to avoid what's going on right now and how that's going to impact people financially, people that, through the CARES Act are in forbearance, and when it comes time to write that check and they can't, yes, that those people, there will be people that get foreclosed on. There will be people that lose their homes. But there are also plenty of people that have equity. And so when they get a little closer to the time where they realize, hey, I'm not going to be able to turn this around and make this happen, we got to sell our house. And because they have equity, that's when we'll start to see a little bit more inventory hit the market. When people that are constantly getting evicted can't find affordable housing, what happens to the owners of rental property? We're going to start to see some issues there. And it's a little too early to tell still, I think. But I tell you what, when we come back, I'm going to talk about, with everything going on right now, with all the changes that are still taking place as to how we approach this process of helping people buy, sell, and invest in real estate and consult them, there's something you need to know, and that's how to hire an agent right now. And so when we take a break and come back, maybe think about some questions that you'd like to ask a real estate agent, or some experiences that you've had and what you'd like to see out of a real estate agent these days. Feel free to call into the studio and let me know. I'd love to hear your opinions on this. 843-556-1250 is the number here in the studio. Stick around for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Broadcast Saturday mornings at 9 and Sunday mornings at 10 on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
1250 WTMA.
Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, folks, to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Again, the number here in the studio, if you guys want to call in, ask your questions. We're going to talk now about hiring a real estate agent in today's real estate market. How are they navigating COVID? How are they keeping you and your home safe? What are some tips and tricks that I can share with you guys from things that we've done that have worked really well in selling property this year? And I think I mentioned this earlier, but our average days on market is 7 days. I mean, literally a week from the time we're under contract, from the time that we put the property on the market. And I want to say first, let me just say this. That number sounds great, and I'm proud of it, and I'm proud of all the members of my team for helping to accomplish that. And that's at 99% of asking price, by the way, so it's not like we're giving away the farm here just to make that days on market look good. But the reality is this. There's also a little bit of luck involved. What I can tell you, though, is that almost every time we put a property on the market, we get swarmed with people that are looking for something like that. Think about all the folks right now that are sitting around at home, working at home. They don't have anybody looking over their shoulder. They're not in the office. And yes, I'm sure there are plenty of people that are very productive, but you're not going to convince me that people are more productive at home than they are in an office. You're just not. And I'll fight you to the death on that one, because I have seen firsthand, I have experienced through all the other people that I mastermind with all over the country, top real estate agents in the country, about this very issue of having agents work from home versus work in the office. And it just, the evidence, the data collection, it's all there. I'm sure there are plenty of studies that I could pull out that prove that people are more productive in an office than they are at home. But anyways, selling property in this market, when a property is marketed well, it's in good condition, it's priced well, and it hits the market, more often than not, it gets swarmed. You have all these folks that are sitting around, again, not being monitored by really anyone or anything, and they've got you've got one tab up for like their work email and another tab up for Zillow or whatever, and they're just waiting for these properties to hit the market. And as soon as they do, and I know because we list these properties, and it's just like, somebody turned on the fire hose, and we get all these phone calls on these properties. It's pretty awesome, quite frankly. Awesome for the seller, at least. And so that's why at the very tail end of this show, we're going to talk about, hey, if you're a buyer, how do you even come close to winning in this type of environment where, it seems like as soon as a property hits the market, people are just all over it. So if this is the case, if this is the quote-unquote expectation that we've been kind of talking about throughout this show as a recurring theme, expectation, uncertainty, so on and so forth, when you put your property in the market and it's been a week and nobody comes by, what's wrong with your house? I mean, is that what you're thinking to yourself? Is that what this agent has kind of, is this what this is supposed to look like? Is it okay? Or, hey, should an alarm be going off somewhere? Hey, something's wrong if you didn't have a showing in your first week. And so when I sit down with folks, or when I have meetings with them over Zoom, or if they're just more comfortable FaceTiming, whatever, we talk a lot about expectations in this market and how there are times where, yes, we can get pretty darn close to what we think that home is going to sell for, down to the, hundreds of the dollar, or thousands of the dollar. But this market surprises us. And I think that it's really risky, quite frankly, for me to have one of these end of the year 2021 market prediction shows, because let's be honest, there's a lot going out there that could turn the tables in either direction fairly quickly. Now, this is a sensitive topic, and we get a lot of folks that when they talk to us, or they've known that we've been on the radio, or they know that we're very analytical about the market. They know that we know our stuff, and I wish that I could be one of those agents that gives you these predictions, but I think I'm just too realistic in this particular instance, this particular time. I mean, look at all the other, 8 years worth of real estate predictions that I've made, and you'll see that I'm pretty on the money, and it's because I follow this market really, really closely. This year, though, I got to say, the uncertainty makes me fearful that I could be putting my foot in my mouth. And I think that it takes guts for people, professionals, to say things like that, because everybody always wants to beat their chest and be the go-to person and, hey, just solve all your problems, make life easy as possible. And of course, when you're working with a professional, they should be doing that for you. They do that through great communication, helping you understand what should happen before it happens. And if it doesn't, here's the game plan. Here's the plan B, the plan C, the plan D. We're going to get through this. No two sales are the same. But I think the folks that are playing up this process and this market to be more than what it is, and their role in it and how amazing they are, should be something you should watch for, I think. And it's all personal preference. I get that. But if I'm going to hire an agent in this market, which is, let's get back to the root of what we're talking about here. I first of all, they need to be extremely good at communication, because that's the thing that was a problem before the coronavirus, before this pandemic. And it's likely always going to be the number one issue in our industry is communication. Just pick up the phone and talk to people, or send them the information you said you were going to send them. Now, I'll tell you, if there's a pretty good example, and I'm not going to, I guess, how do I do this without making this person know that I'm talking about them? Well, if they do, then that's on them. But we hired somebody to help us with some decorating. And I think it's been about 2 weeks now of them stringing us along saying, yep, you're next. Yep, you're next. I think earlier this week, they even got the text was, hey, we're on our way. Nothing. No one came. Oh, yeah, sorry, something came up. As soon as my kids wake up in the morning, I'll be over. 3 o'clock in the afternoon rolls around. Were your kids still asleep, or did we forget again? What's going on here? And so we're getting a lot of value for the money, and it's not like we're in a huge rush to finish this one little project. So we're dealing with it, and that's fine. But, and let's be honest, this is my wife dealing with this, not me. But the amount of tolerance that people have for unprofessionalism, especially in Charleston, and I'll just say it, is pretty astounding. Which is why, quite frankly, I think we've been able to do a really good job of gaining clientele and delivering a fantastic experience, because in most instances, the bar really isn't set that high in our industry-wide. And then we've got the overlay of the local market, and doesn't really get much better, quite honestly. Don't get me wrong, there's some great agents out there that have great service, great results, great products, so on and so forth. But it's pretty obvious when you think about and look at the stats behind how many people actually would hire their same agent again versus how many actually do. That our industry has a huge area for improvement, and that first one comes in the form of communication. So any agent selling property in this market right now, they've got to be good communicators. We've got a communication guarantee in our listing agreement. I mean, it's literally in writing. You sign it, I sign it. It says we'll be in touch with you at least once per week from the time we list until the time we sell, and if you don't, you can fire us. In fact, you can fire us for whatever reason because we've got a cancellation guarantee. Or call it a one-day listing agreement, however you want to coin the phrase. But if you guys decide you don't want to sell your home, or if you feel like we're not doing the job that we said we were going to do, then you should have the right to say, hey, this is not working out. And does that happen every once in a while? Yep, it sure does. And that's what happens when you're selling, well over 100 properties a year. Is that every once in a while you get personality clashes, or every once in a while things just don't work out, or every once in a while, like has happened a few times this year, you have a home that's priced well, that's marketed well, that's in good condition, and it just takes a little longer than normal to sell. It's not because anything's wrong with the house. It's just because, as silly as this sounds, just the right buyer hasn't found it yet. They've gotten close, but they just you haven't found the person that says, yep, I want to own that house. And so that's why we look at the data. That's why we have these conversations to say, look, everything is in line. You are in the strike zone. It's okay. Just stick it out a little bit longer. But if you are in control here, if you want to accelerate this process, if you want to sell faster, increase your value proposition. Reduce the price a little bit. Here are all the things that we're doing from a marketing perspective to generate interest. But that just creates awareness. It creates awareness, and when you're marketed really well, it also creates urgency. Because if you're marketed, you need to be working with a real estate agent that knows how to create that feeling that a buyer has when they see a new listing for the first time. And that feeling, that inner monologue needs to be, hey, I need to go and see this property, because if I don't, someone else will, and I don't want to lose out on this. So that's why we spend time beforehand working on the pre-listing home inspection. We work on some repairs if we have a budget for it and the time for it. We do staging. These things are at our expense, as at least on the Brian Beatty team, because we want to prepare the home to be sold by making sure that we're marketing it in its best light possible. So we'll do the free pre-listing home inspection. We'll have a professional decorator, designer / stager come through and make sure the home looks really good. We've got relationships with contractors that do things at volume pricing for us because of the amount of work we send them. And my God, I wish that I had time this morning to talk about how ridiculous it is to try and work with contractors in this market right now, with the increase in labor rates and materials costs and the fact that they are busier than they ever have been. Man, if you don't have relationships with good contractors right now, you're in a world of trouble, because you're going to be waiting for a long time, and who knows if they're going to get the job done, do it right, and how much they're going to charge. Because Charleston labor is going up pretty extensively in comparison to some other parts of this state. So I do want to finish this thought on hiring a real estate agent in this market, because we still have to talk about showing homes virtually, the virtual sales process, and then, of course, some marketing tactics and a few other things that I think you need to be aware of if you're going to sell your home in a market like this. And we'll of course, tell you some things that have worked really well for us so far this year. Again, if you want to call into the studio, you have some questions, comments, concerns, you want to share a story about selling a home this year, or just want to talk in general about anything real estate related, the number here in the studio is 843-556-1250. 843-556-1250. And of course, if you want to reach out to me, you can learn more about my team by going to listingsincharleston.com or giving me a call on my personal cell. Call or text 843-400-8009. 400-8009. Stick around, folks, for the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Visit Brian Beatty's website at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
1250 WTMA. The Big Talker.
Expert news and views on the Lowcountry real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, folks, to the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. Remember, we're live in the studio. We'd love to take your call if you've got a question or experience or anything that you'd like to chat about real estate related. The number here in the studio is 843-556-1250. That's 843-556-1250. And again, if you want to reach out to me personally, you want to learn more about myself or my real estate team, you can visit us online, listingsincharleston.com. You can learn more about our one-day offer guarantee. You can learn more about how we can help you sell your home as a for sale by owner for a fraction of the cost. You can learn more about our Renovate to Sell program, where you can essentially fix and flip your own home with borrowed money and profit on it, rather than just burning up all your cash, making repairs and trying to figure out where you should spend your money or at all. We'll provide you with a full analysis before anything takes place so that you can determine whether it makes sense for you to repair or renovate or sell as is and what that resulting price would look like, and just walk you through that process. A bunch of different stuff on there, listingsincharleston.com. And if you want to reach out to me personally, 843-400-8009. That's my cell, 400-8009. Feel free to give me a buzz, send me a text, or you can just shoot me an email, brian@brianbeattyteam.com too. That works. brian@brianbeattyteam.com. So let's finish this thought on hiring a real estate agent in this market. We've talked about communication. We've talked about the cancellation guarantee. We've talked about the fact that, there's a lot of uncertainty in this market and that agents, frankly, are willing to say what they need to say and to an extent do what they need to do in order for you to hire them. Because in their opinion, once that happens, that's like 80% of the battle, is just getting somebody to sign on the dotted line. Because, if let's just use an example. Let's say that somebody hires me as a listing agent to help them sell their property. And as the listing agent, and I'm not saying that I do this, but I'm saying this is fairly commonplace in this market. And if you didn't know about it, then you need to. So let's say that there are 3 agents that are interviewing for this position to represent this homeowner to help them sell their house. And let's say in this example, I'm the 3rd real estate agent to come through. I'm the last guy. Well, as the last guy, I'm going to be pretty strategic in the questions that I ask. But basically, I want to know what these other 2 agents told you about the list price. How much have they told you could sell your home for? And they've gotten really slick about it. They walk in and say, guys, I don't want to spend a ton of time on pricing because I'm sure you guys have already been through the comps with the other agents, and I'm sure you guys probably have a pretty good idea of what you want to sell for at this point. Do you guys mind sharing that with me? Oh yeah, $500,000, and after doing your research before you even walk through the door that home isn't going to sell for any more than $475,000. And now you're in a position where that these agents that have come through have basically competed against each other by giving higher and higher and higher projected listing prices so that they become the one that the owner hires. I mean, it happens all the time. So I'm not one of those agents. I'm sorry, but if you invite me to come over to your house, I'm going to do my job and show you the data. I'm going to go through this process with you, and I'm not going to discount the process. I'm not saying, don't confuse that with discounting commissions. I'm saying process. We need to sit down, and I need to have a really good understanding of why you want to do what you want to do. I need to be as invested into the process of you selling your home as you are. It needs to be as important to me as it is to you. And in order for that to happen, I need to ask some questions. I need to understand your motivation, your time frame. What happens if this doesn't happen? Or is it just, hey, we'd like to sell, but we don't have to, like so many of our clients are right now. And that's fine. And that's frankly, that's been great for us because we've got all these folks that are sitting on the sidelines that are waiting to purchase property, and they're just starving. They're starving for inventory. So when I'm hiring a real estate agent in this market, if I'm you, I'm looking for somebody that has versatility. Maybe I want to sell my home on my own, but I just need a little bit of help. I don't want to pay 6%. I'll pay some percent or some sort of flat fee because, frankly, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that the market's good enough to where I can do pretty well and still find somebody that wants to buy it. Well, that's called a transaction broker. Just hire us to do the paperwork. Help us or let us help you with just the transaction. We don't need to be involved in the marketing of it. You can do that. And you can incur that expense so that we don't have to, so that we don't have to charge you more. So there's one. There's the other, which is, hey, I'd like to sell, but I don't want to go through the process of having a bunch of folks walking through my house right now. Fair enough. We totally get that. That's why we have worked. In fact, even before the coronavirus, we were selling property virtually. And I think a lot of people don't really recognize that. But for at least the past 2 years, we have had essentially a virtual program or a version of it because all these folks want access to properties that are not yet currently available. It's called shadow inventory. And so we've been working on this for years. And what's been really awesome, and again, another shout out to my team, just in the past 2 weeks, we've done, I think, 3 transactions where we literally matched up a buyer and a seller, which were just random people that we were talking to. One person said, yeah, I'd like to buy something in this area, in this neighborhood with these features in this price range. And we just so happened to be talking to a seller that had that. And we've got those time frames to match up, and we put a deal together. And agents have gotten so far away from that because they want technology to solve all their problems that they'd rather make a Facebook post or comment on somebody's Facebook post than pick up the phone and make a phone call to someone they don't know to try and drum up some business. That's, I think, part of the issue with this industry right now. And so if I'm hiring a real estate agent in this market, I want somebody that's working, work ethic, get it done mentality, results-based. And so your questions need to revolve around that. I'll also tell you, though, that we have a lot of folks right now that are interested in fixing their home up before they put it on the market. I mean, that's really always been the case. But the question is, what do I do? How much do I spend? For the folks that are even, aware that materials costs have gone up and labor costs have gone up, it's pretty easy for these contractors to be making a pretty penny on these deals because it's becoming commonplace, a rising tide lifts all boats, on pricing in Charleston to get this stuff done. Look at the price per square foot to build a home right now. Just keeps going up. Electricians are making bank on the rewiring homes. It's just a small example. You can go up to Greenville and find somebody that will rewire a house for $5,000. In Charleston, it's $15,000. It's just one of many examples. So for those folks that are out there that are thinking about fixing up their home, it's really important that you connect with somebody that has these relationships. Number one, because you don't want to go through the process of getting work done on your home and work with a contractor that's just a pain in the you-know-what to work with. They don't show up. They don't finish the job. They don't do it correctly. They're taking so many jobs that they're hiring every, Tweedledee and Tweedledum with capacity for work as a subcontractor to come to your house. And there's a real lack of quality control. So that's just one example. But for these folks that want to renovate their home or do some repairs, give us a call first. Let's tell you or give you an idea of what to do before you do it, how much it should cost, how much it should help you sell your home for. And if you don't have the money, then we can arrange for financing. That's the really cool part. Or if you just want to look at repairs versus renovations, sell as is versus sell post-renovation, that's what the analysis is for, is to help you better understand what that looks like. So if we can help you in any way, whether it be to help by just making you an offer directly, going through this renovate to sell process, helping you as a for sale by owner, or of course just going through the traditional process of selling a home, we're here to help. We'd love to earn your business. The number here is 843-400-8009. That's my personal cell, 400-8009, or check us out online, listingsincharleston.com. You guys have a great weekend. Thanks for listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. 843-345-1273.